Mariposas? Mariposas. Mariposas. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jody with Board Game Perspective. So today we're taking a look at the beautiful game called Mariposas, published by AEG and designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, and it's a 2 to 5 player game. So as you can tell by this beautiful cover, it's about butterflies, in particular the monarch butterfly. So in spring, millions of monarch butterflies fly from Mexico all the way up to the eastern North America, and then in the fall you have more butterflies that fly all the way back to Mexico. But not a single butterfly makes the round trip. So in this game you have lots of butterflies of different colors, where you're going to be flying up and flying down and hatching different butterflies, so there's a lot of movement. And then you have set collection with all these life cycle cards. So sounds like fun. Let's see how this game plays. So let's set up the game. You're going to put the map board in the center of the play area. Then you're going to choose 3 season goal cards, one of each season. So we got spring, summer, and fall. And then there's spots on the board. You're going to put them in the corresponding spot, just like this. And then you're going face down, and then you're going to flip only the spring one over. And then you're going to have the different flower tokens in the supply. And then you're going to shuffle these movement cards and put them in a deck to the side. Then you're going to give each player 2 action cards to start, and then each player is going to grab a color of their choice and of all the butterfly markers and their score marker. For this game we'll just set up for 2 player, so these 2 players are going to grab their butterfly markers, and then they're going to put their score markers on this score track at 0. And then each player is going to sort their butterflies by the generations. So there's different generations. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you flip over the 4 generation butterfly marker, it turns into a double 4 butterfly. Then each player is going to grab their generation 1 butterfly marker and put it down at the bottom of the board at the start location right here. And then each player is also going to grab 1 generation 2 butterfly marker and put it on the face down summer season goal card, like this right here. And then each player will also grab 2 of their generation 3 butterfly markers and put it on the face down fall season goal card, just like we have here. Then you're going to randomly choose a first player, and then you'll also place this flower die next to the side of the board. And then there are these way station tokens I have already set out on the board. You're going to shuffle all those. The other sides have different little bonuses and things. You're going to put them on the 16 different places on the maps that list a city. And it's a little purple background. So you're going to fill all those up with the 16 tiles. Then you're going to get this way station board and put it off to the side of the main board. And then there's these bonus move way station cards, which you will also set off to the side. And then there are these life cycle cards, each color, that you're going to put on this way station board in the designated areas. So the cards just simply match up the spot here, and then you'll just set out all these different cards. Then you're going to grab life cycle ability tokens from the board. There are more than 3, I just picked up 3. You're going to shuffle them all. Then you're going to grab 3 and you're going to randomly put them on these the right side of this way station board here. And these are going to be objectives that you can get if you collect 1 of each life cycle color. So everyone's going to be taking turns back and forth in clockwise turn order. Now, a brief overview of your turn is going to be that you're going to pick 1 of your action cards, and then you're going to perform the action. And then if you happen to land next to a milkweed symbol, then you can reproduce. And then you're gonna draw back up to 2 cards. So you're gonna draw another action card. And then if at any point you have 2 of the same action card in your hand, you can discard 1 or 2 of them and redraw. And also this goes for cards that reuse other actions. If you have 2 cards that reuse other actions, you can do the same thing. Another thing to note is that whenever you play an action card, you're going to place it face up in front of you. That way it helps everyone to know how many turns you've had and when a season officially ends. So there are a lot of different action cards that you can play on your turn. Now, generally they're going to show a butterfly and then several arrows. That's going to be your movement, and a landing space. For instance, on this one you can move 1 butterfly up to 5 spaces. Let's go ahead and play this card. So let's say I'm blue. I can move my butterfly 5 spaces. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now whatever spot you land on, you're going to collect that flower token from the supply. So I landed here. So I'm going to collect one of those flower tokens from the supply and put it in my play area. So let's do a few more examples. So this one, I moved 4 spaces. Now this shows an adjacent flower symbol here. What that means is I can collect an additional flower token surrounding my landing spot. So let's go ahead and move him 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I could collect, I'm going to collect this token that I landed on. So that's going to be this one here. And then I can collect one adjacent to that. So let's just collect that one. And that's how you would do this movement card. Now whenever it shows 2 butterflies, that means you can use both of these movements for 1 butterfly, or you can split it up among your butterflies. So for instance, you're going to move 1 butterfly 1 space, and then you can move another butterfly 3 spaces, or that same butterfly again 3 spaces. So let's do a couple examples. So let's say I already had 2 butterflies out there. So I can move, let's say, this guy once, collect that flower token. Then I can move this one 3 times. Let's just go 1, 2, 3. Or I could have done, let's just say this guy, I'm gonna move 1 space and I would collect that token. And then let's say I wanna move him again 3 spaces and then go 1, 2, 3. And then you would collect that flower token as well. And then there's these 2 cards that you could also play. This one says you can reuse any action card you have played. And this one says reuse any action card someone else has played. Now any number of butterfly markers can occupy the same space, and this includes even putting an additional one that you have on the same space. So I could put 2 butterflies there. Then you can also have other players on the same spaces as well. So we could have this player on top of this player. Now a player can never collect flowers from the same space twice in a turn. So for instance, if I had this card here, and say I moved this butterfly here, collected that token, went here and collected that token, I then could not move back here and collect the same token. I would have to move elsewhere. Butterfly also cannot collect flowers from the space that it started from. So if I once again play this card, I couldn't go here, collect, and then go back to where I started to collect. If you happen to land next to a milkweed symbol, then if you want to, you can hatch a new butterfly, but it has to be of the next generation. So for instance, this is a 1 butterfly, then I would have to hatch a 2 butterfly and pay the corresponding cost of flower tokens. Hatching a butterfly is an additional action to taking your flower token or a way station token if you land on that. If you have an action card that allows you to do multiple landings, you can actually do multiple hatchings if you want. So for instance, if I move this one here, I landed next to a milkweed so I could hatch, and say I had another additional movement that I could do, I could move a butterfly again next to a milkweed and hatch yet again. Now there are multiple way station tokens throughout the board. Now if you land on one for the first time, so let's say I land here, you're going to flip this over, you're going to take the benefit, which is that symbol of life and color of life cycle card from the supply. And then because you were the first one, you can also roll this flower die to collect the corresponding flower token. Now this will stay face up for the rest of the game, so other players can also collect those things, but since it's already been flipped over, if let's say this color butterfly lands here, they don't get to roll the die to collect the flower token because they were not the first person at that way station token. But they can, however, still collect that corresponding life cycle card. Now, it is important to note that you can never have a second copy of a way station card, and that means some of these way station bonus cards, which we have not gone over yet, and these life cycle cards. So for instance, I had already collected that from landing there. Now let's say I have a butterfly coming back down and I pass through here. I can't collect this again because I already have one of these. Now most of the way station tokens that we just went over will usually give you some variation of a life cycle card here, and they come in same symbols but just 3 different colors. Now each life cycle card you have at the end of the game will be worth 1 point. If you collect all 4 life cycles of one color, then you get the benefit shown next to that set on the way station board. Now let's go over some of these life cycle ability tokens. Now this isn't all of them, but we're just going to go over these 3 that are out here. For instance, this one here, you will score 1 point at the end of the game. And then this one here, for the rest of the game, every time you hatch a butterfly, you will immediately score 1 point. Now anytime you see an exclamation point, that means that you immediately score those points. This one here lets you have 1 extra butterfly in Michoacan at the end of the game. And this one is pretty straightforward. You just get 3 points at the end of the game. If you were to see this symbol on the flower die or on a way station token, this simply lets you pick any flower token that you want, so it basically acts as a wild. Now some way station tokens have these symbols on the backs, and these correspond with the bonus move cards here. So if you flip over one of these way station tokens, then you're going to grab the corresponding way station bonus card and add it to your hand. The card that you get can stay in your hand until needed, and that can even cross seasons as well. So let's go over these. So this one basically is just another movement card. Now, whenever you play it on your turn though, this counts as your action. It's not in addition to your normal action cards. This card is played at the same time you play another action card, and this just allows you to add an additional movement. And same thing here, this allows you to add 2. Now let's go back to hatching butterflies. So whenever you hatch a butterfly, of course you have to be next to the milkweed, but there is a cost, which we're going to go in detail now. So let's say I'm going to hatch, this one's going to hatch, and it's going to become it's going to provide a level 2 butterfly. So to do that, you're going to go to this chart over here on the board, and it shows the cost for each generation butterfly. So a level 2 butterfly, you have to pay 2 of the same flower token or any 3 flower tokens. Now moving up to generation 3, you have to pay 3 of the same flower tokens or any 4, and then so on. So once you've hatched the butterfly, it starts with the parent butterfly, and now they can move separately. Now whenever you hatch a butterfly, you must always take the butterfly markers placed on the season cards before you grab them from your supply. So let's say I wanted to hatch this butterfly, I would pay the cost, then I would grab the generation 2 butterfly from this season card instead of the supply, and then hatch that one. Once all the butterflies have been picked up off of the season card through hatching, then that season card will be flipped over. Another thing to note is that if you do not have any butterflies from the next generation available in your supply or on the season card, then that butterfly cannot reproduce. Now let's go over the seasons in a little more detail. As we noted in the beginning, the spring gold card is revealed at the start of the game, and then further season cards will be revealed once the butterflies have been hatched that were on top of that card. Now there's also a number below the seasons, and this shows how many turns each player will be having. So spring will be over once everyone has had 4 turns. So whenever the season is over, everyone is going to collect all of the action cards that they played during that season and put them in the discard pile. And then you're going to score the goals on that season's card. And then you're going to determine the next season's first player by whoever has the fewest points at the end of spring. If you have any generation 2 butterflies that are not on the map board, you can hatch one for free. And since it's free, there is no flower token cost, and it does not need to be next to a milkweed symbol. And you will simply place it on one of your generation 1 butterflies. After that, everyone is going to remove their Generation 1 butterflies from the board, and then you're going to reveal the next season's card if it has not been revealed yet. Resolving the end of summer is very similar as to spring, except you will be hatching one Generation 3 butterfly for free if you have one, instead of Generation 2 like in spring. And then you'll be removing all the Generation 2 butterflies. And also in summer you have 5 turns instead of 4. So at the end of the fall, which is after everyone's had 6 turns, you're going to score the goals shown on this card. And then you will also score points for the number of Generation 4 butterflies that are in Michoacan. So here's how you'll score the Generation 4 butterflies that have made it all the way back to the finish. So you'll get 3 points if you have 1, 7 points if you have 2, and then 24 points if you have 6. Alright, so if this player had 2 Generation 4 butterflies that made it all the way back here, then they would get 7 points. And then after you've scored your Generation 4 butterflies, you're going to tally up everyone's life cycle cards, and you get 1 point per life cycle card. Now let's go over some of these season goal cards in a little more detail. So for this one, you would get 6 points if at the end of spring you had at least 2 butterflies above Lawrence on the board, and they were both in red spaces. And this one is the same concept as this one. You would get 6 points for having at least 2 butterflies to the right of Houston on the board, and they both have to be in orange spaces. And a couple other examples. This one down here means you get 1 point for every butterfly you have above Chicago on the board at the end of the season. And this one over here means that whenever a Generation 3 butterfly breeds to the right of Houston on the board, then it immediately goes into a double butterfly Generation 4. And I'll point out at the end of the rulebook, it goes over some clarifications about the iconography and the geographical goals. So there's that page, and this has a lot more of the iconography explanations as well. So to wrap it up, once again, you will finalize your score at the end of fall by doing this fall season card and tallying up your points for however many Generation 4 butterflies made it all the way back to the finish, and 1 point for each life cycle card, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Alright guys, that is Mariposas. So go ahead and leave a comment down below and let us know what you think about this game, and if you have any questions. If you haven't gotten this game yet and you're interested in getting it, we'll put a link in the description below where you can get this game. And as always, if you want to help us out, go ahead and click that subscribe and like button. And until next time guys, thanks for watching. Alright guys, whoa. Oh, there's a little straggly butterfly. Were you recording?